As we continue to navigate the current situation in Australia with maybe reduced resources or reduced hours with our people, one of the things that's really important is that we have and communicate clear expectations with our teams. And when I'm working with leaders, one of the things that they find really challenging is when they ask their people to take on a new responsibility or to produce an outcome, and they train them or communicate their expectations, they might walk away and within a day, a week or a couple of weeks, they find that their people are on a different tangent, and it feels to the leader or the manager like their people weren't really listening. But what's actually going on there is that the leaders aren't communicating their expectations in a way that their people can grab hold of them and run with it. And so sometimes leaders will disagree with this, but until I get into the explanation, they start to see then that maybe they aren't communicating expectations in the way that they thought. So I'm going to give you a quick model to show you how to do this and how it might help. So there's 3 steps to communicating expectations and then holding our people accountable. What actually happens is leaders and managers will often jump to the 3rd step first, and this 3rd step is those accountability conversations. So those difficult conversations or those critical feedback conversations, or just following up on something that you're expecting to be done. What happens is we'll jump to step 3 and try and make that happen or get that done and wonder why it feels uncomfortable or awkward or our people don't respond in the way that we want them to. The reason is because we haven't done steps 1 and 2 very well, and maybe we don't even know that steps 1 and 2 exist. So rather than trying to jump to the accountability conversation or the difficult conversation, it's really important to invest in steps 1 and 2. So step 1 is about agreeing expectations. And as I said before, a lot of leaders, when I work with them, think that they're doing this really well already. But as we dive down here, I want you to consider if you're actually doing this as well as you thought that you were, and maybe there's an opportunity for you to grow a little bit here. So in agreeing expectations, most leaders instead are firing off instructions. So whether that's emails or at a meeting and just letting people know what's required. Instead, what we need to do is let people know what our expectations are, and we can actually use that language. We can actually say, here are my expectations of you, and go through our expectations, time frames, quality and so on, and then ask your people, what are your expectations? Are these your expectations of yourself within this week or this month? So that you can start to see if you have a misalignment. And as you dig deep then, you'll start to agree on some milestones. One of the questions here that's really important is what could get in the way of you fulfilling on these expectations if we are in agreement here? And when we presuppose that something could get in the way by using the word what could get in the way here, or what do you think could get in the way? It gives people permission to think about what could actually get in the way and say it to you, and then so that you can work together through that challenge or potential situation that might be difficult for them to navigate. So giving them that space to really negotiate with you what the expectations are, and leave that conversation or that meeting feeling very clear about what they need to do in their own language, but also if something gets in the way that they can come and speak with you about it. Because what happens here is that human beings have expectations of each other, and what I would call silent expectations, but they don't speak them. And this happens in our professional and our personal lives. So we have these expectations of each other, but when we don't speak them, what happens is if someone doesn't meet that expectation, we haven't communicated, then we get frustrated or angry or disappointed that that person hasn't met those expectations, even though we haven't communicated them. So silent expectations I call a performance poison. So you can never over-communicate your expectations with your people. So can you see, if you dig deep here, that's a lot of foundation work that you're building for your people. The next step is follow-up. This step is what managers usually avoid because we haven't done this step. So you might find that your managers become too busy to follow up. I've worked with many managers over the years who find that they just don't have time to follow up, and I know that's a red flag. It means that they haven't done this groundwork to agree these milestones and talk about what could get in the way, and so therefore they're avoiding the follow-up, which leaves our people potentially not producing as well as they could, or coming up against challenges and not resolving them. Once we've done steps 1 and steps 2, can you see now how step 3 is just a natural progression of steps 1 and 2? It becomes easy, people expect it, We know we're going to have these follow-up conversations, we've agreed on that, and they know that they're going to be held accountable, and they want to be held accountable as well. In the lead survey that's across Australia and New Zealand of managers and leaders and teams, one of the top 5 motivators for people in their roles is that they want more responsibility. And so leaders and managers might feel that that's actually not accurate, but what's happening is that we're just not setting people up for success well enough. So remember, when you're working with your people, especially through these challenging and uncertain times, make sure that you're setting them up for success. Steps 1, 2, and then step 3. Hope this helps. I'll talk to you soon.